Hi everybody, Scott for Angry Badger Minis, and we're going to be doing a pseudo reaction to the Astartes video. And I know that the video's been out for some time, and the creator has now thankfully moved on to Games Workshop to help them produce content for Warhammer TV, I believe. So really looking forward to that. I was asked by a few of you to do some more reaction videos, so I'm going to focus on that. Mind you, I've already seen this video quite a few times, but the reason for making this is I think to provide a little more clarity for those that are out there that don't know a whole lot about 40K, or those that did or said they did that were giving inaccurate information. But anyway, the goal here is to make this as enjoyable as possible, not focus on the negative, and let's get into it. So the Argosa uprising have been checked. Oops, let me back up. Retributor Astartes now assists the hunt for fleeing leaders of the rebellion. Okay. This is a frigate class ship. Excellent video, excellent. Obviously they're trying to, they're going through the flashbacks, if you will, of blessing their weapons and, the meditation and everything else to get prepared for battle. I want to make it clear, this is a Shark assault boat craft. This is not a boarding torpedo. The two are not the same. You'll understand that by the simple fact that they are in fact standing up inside, and it has a laser that breaches the hull of the ship. These are drones that are on the outside that are supposed to provide some type of intercepting fire from the ship that they're about to board. Obviously the ship is also being harassed and we'll call it confused by the other ship that was out there providing fires on board. They have breached. Now it's important to note that this is not necessarily particularly a chaos cultist type anything. This is it could be literally any humanoid faction that's out there amongst the millions of planets that are out there. A lot of people miss that. Everything you just saw there was essentially thermal. Let me see if I can bring it back just a hair. All the targets have been identified through a targeting matrix whatsoever. It's in the helmet, and this will become even more relevant and prevalent as we move on in the video, because there's a shot later on that a lot of folks that watch the video were like, I don't understand how that happened. But anyway, all of the targets so far are being picked out in and amongst all of the dust, smoke, etc. It's important to note that the accuracy of fires and the volume of fire from the Space Marines as they're coming through there, again, everything that we know from the books, etc., for those of you that are read into fiction, is the literal accuracy of Space Marines. Okay, especially when you try to look at it in a way of how excuse me, how much ammo they actually have, how much ammo they can actually carry, and that kind of stuff. And there's plenty of fictional or at least opinions, if you will, of shots being lined up to take out more than one casualty with each bolter round. Now, I would suggest to you that in the realm of what you just saw with these guys getting shot, a lot of people also don't understand the size of the bolter round. They assume that it's something in the realm of you know, a 50 caliber round, which I just so happen to have right here. It's not. It's more actually the size of a shotgun round, 12 gauge, as a matter of fact. And it's, you know, important that that you understand that. But there is fiction out there that lends itself to believe that when, you know, a bolter round strikes an individual, they are in fact, you know, literally blown apart. That's not the case. Okay. Okay, what do we have here? We've got the, you know, rebellion troops, obviously, or rebels, we'll call them, and we've got what appear to be psychers, if you will. Now, I mean, they are psychers, but whether or not they are, because of their size and whatnot, they are made or genetically enhanced or what have you, not really sure. I mean, the scale itself could be off too. The rebels could be considerably smaller people. Right? It just depends. As you saw, the one guy whacking the rebel, like, get over there and go. I didn't see anybody actually running away from the fight, so that may have been a I don't know, just a motivator to say, look, you know, you don't want to come back here. What is behind the door? I love the artwork. Great job. I know when I first watched this, I was actually disappointed that it stopped. Now, that right there, you saw he turned into the door and immediately shot. Okay? That is not necessarily a superhuman deal. Speaking from relative experience, as far as I'll go with it, it's literally a skill, you know, identifying the threat and whatnot that is, you know, is honed and able to, I'm trying to be polite here, it's able, you know, to be acquired by anyone, you know, that puts the training in. That being said, of course, he also, again, because you saw how dark it was in there, he also, again, you know, has, you know, the benefit of thermal. And there's, I mean, I'm sure that there's something to be said of being able to see through in some capacity through walls and stuff, and we know this because of other, you know, fiction and things, you know, whether it be written and or even gameplay of where you could actually see through walls and see what was on the other side. So he may have known the threat was there long before, you know, we even did, which again, you know, lends Space Marines to be, you know, some of the most efficient, you know, warriors, you know, let alone killers. There's that accuracy we're talking about, as well as that incoming missile that he just dodged. Now, I saw a video where somebody said that, you know, the Space Marine took that shot to the face. That didn't happen. It actually rebounded off of the pauldron, but I don't think I'm going to be able to pause it in such a way that we can see that. We're assumed there that they just took out that threat. Again, so much darkness, but it doesn't hinder the Space Marines at all. Right here, okay. Only one time in any video did I see out there did anyone even remotely react to this you know, act right here of the Space Marine realizing that somebody was coming. Remember, superhuman hearing, you know, sensorium stuff inside the, you know, inside the suit, whatever it is, and then of course his own situational awareness that, you know, he's paying attention to what's going on, because this part kind of goes by pretty fast, and it's the only reaction I ever saw was somebody that literally just kind of like their eyes went like this, and that was it. Most people seem to miss this part. here, unfortunately, you have the grim darkness of the far future, where life is meaningless or not worth much, even to, you know, supposedly your friends. It's all about the objective. There's the Marine. I don't care what's in front of it, and I'm going to kill the threat. So that's the kind of hold on a second. And that right there is what I was talking about predetermined targets and targeting. Okay, it was already there. He already knew about it. With no actual visual acuity to see the target, everything was already programmed in, and he was able to make the shot. Now him, you know, his being shot up by, you know, I'm assuming what would be a twin linked las cannon of some sorts. Although, you know, in gameplay it's one shot. I would say that we all wish we had the armor with our Space Marines that this one did. Our two psychers. Now I love literally the sound of the bolters in this. I really wish there was a consistency in the sound for just about everything across the realm of 40K. It never is, but you know, it is what it is. Obviously, I would say, and I meant to say this earlier, this is probably the first time that we've ever seen a quote round count, you know, of any type on, you know, the backside of a bolter in any depiction whatsoever. Is in this video. I've never seen it anywhere else. Is it unrealistic? No. Although again, I think that while it adds a lot to the video, or a lot to, you know, the movie here, I would say that again, the Space Marine is going to be cognizant of that because of what we've been told and taught of how alert, how much they're programmed and trained, etc., as well as whatever his suit is able to you know, record, if you will, as far as ammo depletion and many other things. What I would venture to say with these psychers is something is off here. Okay, they had to have known they were coming. They had to have heard them in some way, shape, or form of setting up around them. Now, that's not to say that Marines can't be stealthy in the armor, because they can. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the Death Watch and whatnot, who are extremely stealthy. But these guys, I mean, take a look at the guy on the right. I mean, he literally looks like, oh, what's going on? And, you know, this other guy, I mean, they of course already had, you know, well, I would like to say that they had their protective shielding up. I think it was probably more of a reaction to the report, you know, the split second action to the reports of the bolters, meaning the, you know, the actual noise of fire, and to show just how quickly these guys can react. And right here is a great depiction of the size of a bolter round. I think he did a great job, as well as the fact that it is in fact, you know, propelled, or, you know, of some, you know, in some way, shape, or form. Now there could be something to say of the arrogance of these psychers, that nothing's going to get to them. And maybe that's why the guy was kind of standing there and just kind of nonchalantly turned around, you know, like, oh, you want to shoot at me from behind? But again, I think there could have been more to this. The speed of a Space Marine in all of that armor. But again, I would think that they would know that he was coming. Now that part right there is a little undetermined. I believe we're led to believe that through the psychic energy, he was able to kill those Marines and basically essentially destroy the entire area. We don't see them again, and then it happens again on another group. At this point, I think he realizes that there's somebody there, and at this point is where I ask myself, why why there wasn't a combined volume of fire on specifically that psyker while he's exerting so much effort into stopping this Space Marine, from being able to take him out. It doesn't mean that the Space Marine was necessarily in the way. I mean, from what we know of accuracy with the Space Marines and whatnot, they should easily be able to target this guy. And that's the secondary explosion I was talking about, where the other, they took out some more Marines. But again, there could have been more fires, especially if they had them surrounded 360 degrees. The will of a Space Marine. This guy's like, "Do you got this?" He's like, "I got him." Again, that's stealth. But I lend myself to think that part of what was happening there was the other psyker was lending some type of protection to his buddy, or reinforcing, his psychic powers to fight the Marine, who's clearly fighting back through force of will, because it almost makes no sense how this guy got in there. I mean, the second Space Marine got in there. And that right there, when the first Space Marine stabbed the first psyker through the head, I felt that they may have been linked in some way as well, which, again, feeding off of one another. Now this guy loses his power exponentially, which allows the will of the Space Marine to fight through and go ahead and take this guy out. Like nothing ever happened. Just another day on the job. I wish we could have maybe seen how we got through the door, but maybe it was uneventful or not worth, something worth even broaching. A nice breach would have been nice. Or maybe it was unlocked and left open. By the way, this is this ship right here is completely different. This is something that's been speculated on a lot. I mean, most of us, I think, understand that, they are in fact, looking at what the we'll call them the insertion team, if you will, what they're doing. I mean, it's pretty, in my opinion, self-explanatory, but it may not have been for some folks. There was even a hint that it was happening in the past, that this was kind of a flashback or something like that. That's not the case. This is all happening real time. These guys are observing whatever the strike team is doing, or insertion team, and that's what's happening here. Those are veterans that are walking by at a minimum, based on the color of their helmets with white. I would say that there is a chance that because this is a homegrown chapter, they could in fact be a commander, captain, or something, something of that nature. And this is obviously this orb here, which no one will know what this is, unless the Astartes artist comes out and tells somebody sometime. And I really hope they pick this back up. Anyway, this orb here, excuse me, is in fact captured. It's one that they have captured, and they are hoping to use, to communicate later on with. This is not happening in the past. Here we have an Inquisitor, or somebody of the Inquisition, a psyker no doubt, that's trying to, ascertain information, intelligence, or learn, or even read the thoughts of this thing, because it's clearly a sentient being. These guys, whether captain, veteran, whatever it is, they're there to oversee and supervise what's going on. Now we're back to, well, I guess the door opened. I stand corrected. I guess somehow they were able to breach it. Now they're paying attention. I'm led to believe in some way that the floor there would have been ice initially, but as you can see, nothing else is breaking on the floor. So it could have just been something else, as in it being very cold there. This could be, you know, what would be eventually the embodiment. Let me back or stop here. Does everybody see right here all of these extra head pieces and spinal columns? I believe that this is the ability to make more of those Psyker, warriors that the Space Marines already fought and defeated. This one, however, this big one, I feel that he would be a bigger entity, and potentially, because I mean, if you take a look at the size of this thing compared to the Marine right here, that he could be a shell for the orb that they're about to capture. They know why they're there. Let's make that clear. These Space Marines know this thing is on the ship. That's why they're there. I mean, they've come prepared. They have their either immobilization / communication shards, and this was a weak attempt to try to get the Space Marines to back off. Clearly the orb knows who they are, and perhaps he's trying to use some type of EMP wave to shut them down. Now, I saw in a video where someone said they looked at the feet of the Space Marines and they said that they didn't understand how they had traction. It didn't make any sense. You have to remember that there is the capacity for them to have limited, without the actual maglock boot part that goes over it when they're doing orbital warfare, if you will, or fighting in the vacuum of space. They do have the ability to magnetize themselves slightly onto the floor. Clearly they've done this before. Although there is something to be said that they could be talking to one another inside of their helmets this whole episode, the whole movie. And I believe that these devices not only help hinder this orb's ability to do anything against them and hopefully help capture it, but also help breach or bring the psychic link between the one they've captured and that one. Alright, so basically what we have here is the communication between the one that is captured and the one that the Space Marines on board the Rebel ship are currently dealing with. And the one that is on board the Rebel ship essentially tells the one that's on board the Space Marine ship to take the Alpha. Okay, that they've all failed. They've got to be able to, essentially free themselves, if you will, or fight back. And I don't have the complete translation right now because it is kind of hard to hear, especially even going through my headphones. It's a little more reverberated, but the Alpha is this Inquisition or Inquisitor. Oh my gosh, I can't even speak today. Anyway, he's the Psyker that they're talking about, and if he can take control of them, then there's the possibility of taking control of the ship and inadvertently helping both of them to escape. So you have the one on the rebel ship that's saying basically fight back, even though the one on the Space Marine ship's like, we all failed, we can't do anything. So clearly there is, you know, some type of hierarchy, or at least sentient will that is stronger in the one on the rebel ship than the one that's on the Space Marine ship. Something's obviously wrong. That's basically what he's conveyed to the Space Marines, or warn the team on the ship. Okay, he's clearly been taken or working on it. Now, this is about the ruin of these Space Marines and you know, what the orb, this is my opinion, because we're only going off of, you know, small visages here, that essentially the destruction of these Marines is chapter and you know, their involvement. Now, I actually saw in a video where somebody's like, why did they have to shoot the guy, you know, after he did all this? And in another video, they weren't sure why he bothered to punch him or what have you. First of all, what we know of Space Marines is, in fact, that, I mean, literally that guy could take his head off, you know, with one punch. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, he could have grabbed him by the head and crushed it. You know what I mean? That's how strong the Space Marines are. The second is, any psychic manifestation into the real, okay, whether, I mean, I wouldn't say that these guys are, quote, demons. I mean, these orbs are demons or anything like that. But the way that Space Marines or the Imperium is trained in general is that any actual physical manifestation or attack, psychic attack whatsoever, is to be dealt with as quickly and, you know, as brutally as possible, because it only takes a split second for that psyker, for instance, even if it had nothing to do with the orbs, he could have inadvertently become weak and now has literally opened up to, we'll say, the forces of chaos and the warp and manifest something else. Okay, so just because he punched him, just because he did whatever, doesn't mean that the body is in fact shut down. And they're trying to obliterate it as much as humanly possible to make it, you know, non-functioning. Unfortunately, they were not able to warn this team in enough time. And this is our sergeant again, who has taken the brunt of all of the attacks so far. Some type of magnetization process, or just, you know, being able to suck them in. This sergeant is one heck of a guy. I mean, he is hands down smart, intelligent. Now we can only assume at this point that he, you know, overcharged the plasma pistol and took his hand off in an attempt to, you know, disable or destroy this orb and to save his brothers. Unfortunately, it did not work. I'm going to see if I can pause this in just the right time. Something, you know, okay, so you're going to see here, it's very short. I have no idea exactly what it is. I don't think anybody really does. It could just even be the forces of chaos, if you will. But whatever this object is that has a hold of all of these Space Marines, some trans-dimensional gate, key, whatever you want to call it, is about to be destroyed by something else. Right there. And here we have the sergeant, evidently alone, being transported somewhere else. People are led to believe in some videos that there's something in his blood or whatever. That's not what's going on here. This is just the pooling of the blood in bubbles, if you will, based on the surface that he's spitting on. I love the incorporation of the service studs here. We've got gold and 2 silver here. Obviously, we have there's nothing that I remember anyway in any of the fiction that I've read that's talked about the actual length of service for the different colors. Just that generally each service stud is 100 years. So this gold one right here, who knows? He might be really old. But clearly, you know, he's been through some stuff trying to get through the warp here, or through the process of his travel. And while this could be another dimension, another planet, who knows? These beings could have in fact been giants, as as these visages or statues imply. They could have been some type of god, or gods. Who knows? But clearly this goes on for some length here. So what I'm going to do as this ends is, if you feel like sticking around, is I'm going to restart the video. Hold on a second. But I'm going to restart the video so you guys can watch it, you know, without all of my rambling. And I believe the stuff that hit that Space Marine on the shoulder there had something to do with the Tyranids. Gotta love when that happens. All right. So one thing I did pick up from the conversation between the two orbs was that the Astartes these Astartes resist our touch. And then something I failed to mention was right before the strike team, insertion team, whatever, was sucked into the orb, you saw what appeared to be a demon. I don't know if that's again, I don't think that the orbs are particularly part of chaos. I think that that demon visage was maybe just precursor to, you know, this is about to happen. Maybe it was something the sergeant saw, and then that maybe it was even that demon that destroyed, you know, whatever was holding on to them inside the orb. So you know, maybe just the actual formation of chaos. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I've got more lined up, and we will see you next time.